The courtyard of Ridgeway High was alive that afternoon. A warm breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass and autumn leaves, and the hum of hundreds of students filled the air. Groups clustered under the shade of old oaks, trading gossip and weekend plans. Somewhere near the cafeteria, the clang of a drop tray triggered a burst of laughter. It should have been an ordinary Friday. But then... crack! The sound was sharp enough to cut through every conversation. Heads turned. Silence spread like ink in water. In the center of the courtyard, Emily Carter stood frozen. Her cheek burned, the skin already flushed with a vivid red mark shaped unmistakably like a hand. Her dark hair had fallen forward, hiding most of her expression, but those close enough could see her eyes, wide, unblinking, stunned. Standing in front of her was Tyler Briggs. Tall. Athletic. The kind of swagger that came from knowing he ruled the hallways. His mouth curled into a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. Behind him, two of his closest friends, Jake and Connor, snickered like hyenas circling their leader. The crowd didn't breathe. The courtyard's usual soundtrack of voices, footsteps, and distant basketball bounces had vanished into a vacuum. Emily's heartbeat thundered in her ears. The sting in her cheek was nothing compared to the burn of humiliation. Tyler's friends were looking around, gauging the crowd's reaction, feeding on it like oxygen. Tyler tilted his head, his voice carrying just enough to be heard by those watching. "Where you going, delicious?" The word dripped with mockery. Laughter rippled through a few onlookers. Most stayed silent. Some turned away, pretending to scroll through their phones. For a moment, Emily thought about doing what she'd done so many times before, swallowing the hurt, walking away, pretending it didn't happen. But something in her had shifted over the past year. If you've been here before, you know Soul Touch Stories isn't about fairy tales, it's about the moments that break us, and the ones that make us. Emily's story is one of those moments. So before we dive deeper into what she did next, subscribe to Soul Touch Stories so you never miss the next real, raw story that might just change how you see the world. Tyler had been a shadow over Emily's school life for months. It started after she'd corrected him in history class for mocking a shy student. From then on, she became his favorite target, books knocked from her hands, cruel nicknames whispered loudly enough for her to hear, sarcastic claps when she answered a question in class. It was never enough for the teachers to notice, but always enough to chip away at her. What Tyler didn't know was that Emily had been spending her lunches at the community center. Coach Ramirez, a retired Marine, taught self-defense classes there. She hadn't told anyone, not even her best friend Mia. She wasn't training to fight. She was training to survive. Now, standing in the courtyard, the lessons replayed in her mind. His stance. His proximity. His overconfidence. She heard Ramirez's voice in her head, "Stay calm. Breathe. Control the moment." Emily slowly lifted her head, tucking her hair behind her ear so the red mark on her cheek was visible. Her gaze locked with Tyler's, not defiant, not afraid, but steady. "You shouldn't have done that," she said softly. A few students near the front flinched, as if expecting her words to provoke another slap. Tyler grinned wider, mistaking her calm for weakness. "Oh yeah," he said, taking a step closer, his shadow falling over her. Emily didn't step back. "Yeah." When his hand twitched, moving toward her arm, she reacted, fast and fluid. She caught his wrist mid-motion, twisted it sharply to the side, and stepped out of his reach. The move was clean, controlled, just as Ramirez had taught her. Tyler stumbled forward, his balance broken. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Jake took a step forward, his face tightening. "Hey!" Emily turned her head toward him, her stance squared, her voice clear enough to carry. "Enough. I've taken your whispers, your jokes, your shoves. No more." Something shifted in the air. Students began stepping closer, closing ranks around her instead of backing away. Someone from the back called, "Leave her alone." Another voice joined. Then another. Tyler's smirk faltered. He glanced around and realized, for the first time, he wasn't in control. Emily let go of his wrist and stepped back. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "You can stop now, Tyler. Before this turns into something you'll never live down." The courtyard was silent except for the rustling of leaves above. Tyler muttered something under his breath and shouldered past the crowd, Jake and Connor trailing behind him with none of their earlier swagger. As soon as they were gone, Mia rushed to Emily's side, tears in her eyes. I thought." "I know," Emily said, her own voice trembling now. "So did I." Word spread fast. By the end of the day, the whole school knew about the slap, and how it ended. The story grew in the telling, but one detail never changed: Emily had stood her ground. Over the next weeks, Tyler kept his distance. Teachers noticed a change in the atmosphere around Emily. Students who'd never spoken to her before began offering smiles, nods, quiet words of thanks. She realized it wasn't just her battle she'd fought, it was one everyone else had been watching, too afraid to join until she gave them permission. One afternoon, Coach Ramirez called her over after class. "Heard what happened," he said, handing her a bottle of water. "You did good. You didn't let it get ugly, but you didn't back down either." Emily shrugged, but there was pride in her eyes. "I didn't think I could." "That's the thing about strength," he said. "You never know you have it until you've got no choice but to use it." By winter, Emily had started helping Ramirez teach the beginners class. One of her students, a nervous freshman named Lila, asked her one day, "How do you know when it's time to stand up for yourself?" Emily thought for a long moment. "When staying silent starts to hurt more than speaking up," she finally said. If Emily's courage speaks to you, take a second to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Soul Touch Stories, because the next story might just give you the strength you need when your own moment comes. Months later, Emily saw Tyler in the hallway. He didn't make eye contact. He simply stepped aside, giving her space. To anyone else, it might have looked like nothing. To Emily, it was everything. That autumn afternoon had started as one of the worst moments of her life. But in standing her ground, she'd taken something back: her dignity, her voice, her sense of self. The bullies thought they could break her in public. Instead, they revealed her power to the world. Because sometimes, the biggest mistake a bully can make is teaching you exactly how to rise.